In this video, I'm going to rank every single legendary only item in Fortnite history from worst to best. These are, of course, items that can only be found in the legendary rarity, right? And this video will not include medallions or keycards, right? Or this list would just turn into ranking every single medallion, and I've already done that. I did this video about half a year ago now, but with the release of Chapter 6 Season 4, we've gotten some new additions to this list. And of course, there's nowhere that I can go on the internet for every legendary only item. So if there's anything I miss on this list, please let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll be sure to respond letting you know where it would be in this video, but I don't think I forgot anything. With that all being said, if you go on to enjoy this video, consider using code TYFRYZ in the Fortnite item shop to help support the content, and let's get right into this ranking. At number 17, the worst legendary only item in Fortnite history, clearly it is the thermal fish. Yeah, the thermal fish is not really that good. I will say I do like the way the thermal looks when you use the thermal fish. It looks totally different than any other thermal item. It's just like, I don't need this, right? Like, I don't need to waste one of the precious inventory slots that I have on just temporarily having thermal vision, right? It just doesn't really do anything for me. If I wanted thermal vision, I might as well just use up that slot and carry, you know, a thermal scoped AR or the Nighthawk, for example. And yes, I know that it does give you heals when you eat it, but it's just a couple white heals. It's not enough for me. At number 16 is the Porta-fortress, and I guess this is probably a pretty good time to mention that I am a builds player, mainly a builds player. I've been trying out a little bit more zero build recently, as you can see in some of my videos. So you zero build players are going to be watching and saying, what the heck? The Porta-fortress in zero build is probably a top 10 item, right? But in builds mode, why do you need a Porta-fortress, right? And the answer is you don't. You can just build it yourself if you want to in about 30 seconds. Most people don't even like play statically anyways, right? The Porta-fortress is for people who like to camp, who like to play static and just hold an angle. Players just don't really play like that anymore, and with all the good mobility nowadays, it's just so easy to jump somebody inside of a Porta-fortress. Back in like the early Chapter 1 days, yeah, the Porta-fortress was daunting, but now it's just really nothing. At number 15 is the regular jetpack. Again, another item that was really good back in the early days of Chapter 1, but we've gotten more jetpacks. The Mandalorian jetpack is better than this. The hover jets are better than this. This jetpack is really just for moving up and down, right? You can't really move horizontally or laterally that well. And again, with how good players are at taking high ground, at building quickly, how good people's aims are, using a jetpack nowadays would just be an absolute disaster. You would get shredded immediately. At number 14 is the mounted turret. And you might remember, again, back in the day, I know I'm talking a lot about Chapter 1 here, this thing was absolutely broken for a little period of time, then they nerfed it a bunch. At the end of the day, it is an absolute death sentence just leaving yourself sitting in the mounted turret for anybody to just rip your head off with a sniper, right? If you use this item in a non-sniper season, I could see why it would be a little more useful, but any season that has any type of weapon that can one-shot headshot you, using this is a terrible idea. You're just waiting to get sniped. Yes, you can put out some big damage and good spam with the mounted turret, but again, it's high risk, right? You run the risk of getting headshotted. At number 13 is the Vendetta flopper, and if you don't know what the Vendetta flopper is, I wouldn't blame you because you've probably never seen it in a game. It is incredibly rare. I believe it has a 1% catch rate, and all the Vendetta flopper does, right? You could fish 100 times and get this item one time, and all it does for you is it just marks people nearby. It doesn't mark everybody on the map. It doesn't mark them on your actual minimap. It's essentially just a shakedown, right? Like, why does this thing even exist? I have no idea why. The only reason it's this high up on the list because genuinely I would take like 30 seconds of recon over any item that I've mentioned on this list so far. And if it had, let's say, a 1 in 10 catch rate, then yeah, like that's fine, right? But to sit there for probably like an hour and try and catch this thing, multiple hours, for it to only do this, yeah, that I can't get behind that. At number 12 is the Banana of the Gods from Chapter 5 Season 2. What a weird item. Another really forgotten about one. Essentially what it does is you eat it, it instantly gives you 25 white heals, and then it will give you 75 white heals over time, and also give you basically the low gravity effect, the Zeus medallion effect. You run faster and no fall damage when you jump, and you jump higher. I feel like you're really not using this item for white heals, right? Like white heals are everywhere. They're so easy to find. You're really using it for that Zeus medallion effect, and it can be good for that, but honestly, I go back to Chapter 5 Season 2, and I just can't remember a time when I was ever like, oh yes, Banana of the Gods, there we go. Number 11 is the airstrike. The airstrike's an interesting one. Back in Season 8, I thought this thing was going to be absolutely broken, and honestly, I thought that the airstrike would perform how the current precision airstrike in Chapter 6 Season 4 does, and it's not that the airstrike is necessarily bad. I mean, it's a very small radius. It takes a while for the missiles to come down, and people can just take like 10 steps to the right and get out of the way. But the precision airstrike is this item just magnified 10x with the same exact rarity, right? So it's like if you had this weapon and its new version, the precision airstrike, next to each other, which one you're taking the precision, and my list will reflect that when you see that item a couple spots higher. And number 10 is going to be the Midas flopper. So it's very similar to the Vendetta flopper in the fact that it is a legendary only fish and it is very rare to catch. But the Midas flopper will turn every single thing into your inventory legendary. It'll give it the legendary rarity. That is a good ability and you'll definitely take that, but it is not great. I mean, think about it, right? It's a great bonus to go from, let's say, green to legendary. But does that make that much of a difference? I mean, with certain weapons, certainly, yeah, it does, right? Going from a green pump or, let's say, even a common pump to a legendary one where you can one-shot headshot, that is very good. But does the difference from, let's say, a blue bolt to a gold bolt really make a difference? Not really. If you're a good player, it doesn't really matter what rarity your weapons are. You're probably still going to outplay your opponent if you are that good. So I do see the appeal to the Midas flopper, but again, I think it's good. It's not great, though. At number 9 is the bush, and this might surprise you, but as you guys probably know, the bush allows you to withstand one shot from anything, right? It doesn't matter how powerful it is, how weak it is. That is one shot from an SMG. That is one shot from a heavy sniper. That is one shot from a shotgun that would hit you for 220 to the face. The bush withstands all that damage, and that is huge. That is massive. That is so critical. Every time I see the bush in OG, I use it, right? I put it on because why wouldn't you? You are at a significant advantage in a shotgun fight if you have a bush and the opponent doesn't. That's what makes the bush so good and what pushes it inside the top 10 on this list. At number 8 is the Kingsman umbrella. The Kingsman umbrella is decent. Again, another item that is good, but not great. It will get the job done. It can block a couple of bullets. It's got some different melee attacks. It's really just a reskin version of the lightsaber, right? In fact, the Kingsman umbrella was only in the game barely in Chapter 2, Season 2, and then has never come back since. And honestly, I don't see that changing anytime soon. Really, when you stack it up against all the melee weapons in Fortnite history, I think it's kind of middle of the pack and even below average if you want to go that far. At number 7 is the plasma cannon. And again, I know you're so tired of hearing about the plasma cannon, seeing the same plasma cannon gameplay. I promise you, I'm trying so hard to find different plasma cannon gameplay from like 4 years ago. It's just this weapon finds itself in all of my videos. I used to be much more high on it, but you know, look, it's only got 5 shots and yeah, it will destroy anything. It'll go through any walls. It'll do a ton of damage. If a plasma cannon gets stuck in your box, right, like if somebody shoots it from above you, you are in big trouble. At the end of the day though, right, like it's only got 5 shots. So, you know, it's just like how much utility can you get out of an item that only gives you 5 shots, right? I mean, that's up for the user to decide, of course. I think this is where now the list flips around to some pretty good items. And at number 6 is the Ascended Mist from Chapter 6, Season 3. Of course, this is a little cheap pick to be on this list because the Ascended Mist is actually 2 items combined into one. It's obviously the Mist Form and the Mist Gauntlets that now take up 2 inventory slots, which, yes, really does hurt this item. I hate that it does that. But the thing that makes the Ascended Mist really good for me is not necessarily the Mist Gauntlets, but it's actually the Mist Form, right? Turning into the, I guess you could say, like the invisible bird flying through the sky, you actually get immunity there. And being able to grant yourself immunity whenever you want, essentially, in Fortnite is going to always be good. And that's really the only reason it's at number 6, right? If you were not able to fly in this item and grant yourself that immunity, this item would be really, really far down on this list. We are now inside the top 5. Now, number 5, I've got our brand new addition to this list. It's the Precision Airstrike from Chapter 6, Season 4. Now, if you've played the new Proximity Chat game mode, you're going to absolutely love this thing. This thing destroys an endgame. You can literally take out like 20 people at a time in endgame. But in a regular Fortnite lobby, which, let's remember, the Precision Airstrike is very, very rare. It is difficult to find. To my knowledge, you can actually only find it in the caches. I'm talking like the supply drop caches that drop around the map, or S caches and above. Of course, correct me on that if I'm wrong in the comment section. And there's a couple problems I have with this item. Firstly, it does take a while to place, right? Like you actually have to hold out the airstrike for several seconds before you can actually drop the nukes. And everybody inside the area of effect can see that they are about to get obliterated. And in Chapter 6, Season 4, we currently have a pretty good stack of mobility items. I'm talking the shockwave hammer, right? That's absolutely everywhere. It's pretty simple, right? If you see the red on your screen, just use the shockwave hammer and get out and you'll be safe. Now, what I will say is anybody who gets stuck in that area of effect, by the time those bombs drop from the sky, they will die instantly. This thing just obliterates everything in its path. So again, right, if you use it at the right time, if you third party somebody, if you know that somebody's out of mobility, this thing's destructive, right? Somebody can literally not escape it. Moving on to number 4 is the Buried Treasure Map, and the Buried Treasure Map is this high on the list because, well, it's one legendary item that turns into multiple, and depending on the loot pool, this item could actually move up or down, right? If the Buried Treasure Map is featured in, let's say, Chapter 1, Season 8, versus when it was featured as Nathan Drake's map in Chapter 3, well, it depends, right? Do you like the Chapter 3 Season 1 weapons better? Do you like the MK and Stinger? Or do you like Chapter 1, Season 8, maybe getting a Chug Jug, a Spaz Shotgun, and a Legendary Infantry Rifle? And also, this item is very tough to rank because there's no telling how many items you're going to get out of it and what those items are going to be, right? So you can see why this was a tough item for me to rank. I think inside the top 5 is ultimately very fair. At number 3 is the legendary slurp juice. I know what you're saying, Ty, come on, what are you talking about? There is literally a purple slurp juice, right? But hold your horses, okay? Because the Fortnite wiki consider these 2 separate items. I mean, seriously, if you go on, it says slurp juice purple, and then in this separate category, it says slurp juice legendary. And I think it's fair to put the legendary slurp juice on this list because it functions so differently than the regular slurp juice. And I shouldn't say differently, but just so much better. I mean, it's absolutely broken, right? 3 health and shield a second, right? That is unbelievable. It is the go-to heal in Chapter 6, Season 4. If you see it, you need to hold it, right? I was watching the FNCS Globals a couple weeks ago, and everybody who has slurp juices has an incredible advantage. They are just so strong, right? Like, it's crazy. They are the second best healing item in Fortnite history. And yeah, you can also carry 2 of them. The legendary slurp juice, though, is beaten out at number 2 by the Lil Whip Special Serve. Okay, look, yeah, again, I know there are other ice cream cones that are not the legendary rarity, but the Lil Whip Special Serve is unreal. It gives you 200 health or shield instantly. It's not like you have to wait for it over time. You have to pop a Chug Jug. It takes 15 seconds. You use it, and then it instantly gives you all that health and shield. This is the best healing item that Fortnite will ever see, right? It cannot possibly get better than this. If you use this in a fight, it's like, what an advantage. You can take any fight you want because as long as you don't die, or you can get to 1 HP, pop it, and you're back to full. You might be saying, how is an item that strong not at the number 1 spot today? That's because at number 1, say the best legendary only item in Fortnite history, it is the Zapatron. Yeah, the Zapatron is absolutely devastating, right? And you know, if there was anything that was going to beat out the Lil Whip Special Serve, it had to be an absolute tank of a weapon, and that is what the Zapatron is. If you guys a couple weeks ago played the OG like Wild Week they did where the Zapatron was everywhere and everybody had low gravity, I've never used a sniper that's so easy to hit shots in my life besides the Reaper sniper like the Zapatron was that weekend. It'll one-shot walls, it's an easy one-shot headshot, a ton of body shot damage. If you don't want to charge it up, fine, like you don't have to. If you want to charge it up, you'll get the big time damage. And when people were just floating through the air in OG, just jumping around minding their own business, it's like the aim assist just did the work for me, right? Just give me that juicy headshot. The Zapatron is one of the best items in Fortnite history, and yeah, it shouldn't be a surprise that it is at the number 1 spot today. And honestly, now that I look back on it, the top 3 on this list were absolutely stacked, as they should be. They're only found in the legendary rarity. Alrighty folks, I hope you enjoyed that video today. Again, I know I've already made this video before, but if you go back and look at that list back in, I think March it was, and this list, yeah, they are completely different lists. And as soon as I saw that precision airstrike item, I said, you know what, I've got to make this video again. Please let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of this ranking, and I'll catch you in the next one. As always, peace.